Hello, third grade. This is Mrs. Fondre here, and this week in class we are talking all about lines. Now, we talk about lines every year because they're kind of important. They're how you make art. You got to start with some sort of a line usually, all right? So today we're going to be doing a cutting and gluing collage is what it's called. It's where you're cutting out shapes or pictures of things and then you glue it to another piece of paper. So we're doing a line collage today. You're going to need at least 3 different things, if I'm remembering correctly. You're going to want a piece of paper to glue everything onto. So I normally would do a black piece of paper at school if we had them, but because I'm guessing at home you'll have a white piece of paper, we're going to stick with white. And if you happen to have colorful paper, this would be a great time to bust it out. The more colors, the better. I would even recommend doing a different color for each type of line. So you would need 5 or 6 colors, but if you don't have that, or if you only have white paper, you are more than welcome to take your white paper and color it with a color pencil, a crayon, a marker, and then you can use that to cut outlines, okay? So if you have colorful paper, use it. If you don't, make it colorful, hopefully, all right? You're gonna want a glue stick for this one. If you have only the liquid glue, that will definitely work as well, but because you're putting it on such a little piece of paper, it's more likely to get super messy. So if you're using liquid glue, dot, dot, not a lot, okay? You don't wanna have a swamp when you're all done. Otherwise, it take a long time to dry and look kind of weird when it's done. And last thing you're gonna need is a scissors, all right? So I'm gonna move my camera down so you can kind of see what's going on my desk and what I'm hoping we can make up, okay? So I'm gonna kind of keep my base paper for the collage off to the side for now because that's kind of our last step. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be cutting out all sorts of different lines. So I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to draw a horizontal line. That is your long line. And I'm going to do the longest side of my paper, okay, the longest side that I have. And I want it to be maybe about 1 inch thick. You are definitely welcome to use a ruler for this because that helps you draw really straight lines. So I'm going to put my ruler down. I'm going to hold it down really big with my hand and I'm going to draw my line. Actually, I'm going to switch my paper so you can see a little easier. You're going to draw your line, okay? It's easier to cut a line out if you know where you're cutting, okay? So with my horizontal line done, I'm going to cut it out. I think it's easiest to do the longest side because you know it will probably fit on that white piece of paper. Okay, I'm really taking my time cutting. I don't want to make it all jagged like a lightning bolt. Sometimes I see people cut and they'll go, they go all wibbly wobbly. And we don't want that today. We're trying to work on really straight lines. So now I'll put this kind of on my white paper where I might want to put it for later. I'm not going to glue it yet because I still might want to rearrange stuff. All right, my next one, I'm going to do a vertical line. Remember, our vertical is our very, very up and down line, okay? I'm again going to use my ruler because I have it. Might as well use it, right? And this is where you might want to switch colors of paper if you have it because it'll just make your final piece look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to make, again, about 1 inch thick. I don't have to measure it, but if you want to, you can. And I'm going to cut this one out, okay? Like I said, using different colors is really fun here. If your lines that you cut out don't quite touch top to bottom on your collage paper, like this one is missing maybe 1 inch because I cut off 1 inch from my long one, that's okay. And this one can kind of go wherever you want. You can go up, down, you can go this way. But we want to keep it very, very vertical because our next line is going to be diagonal. Now the easiest way to do that, we're going to cut out another straight line. So I'm going to use this flat edge of my paper again. But this time, after we're done cutting it out, we are going to put it in our paper so it's not perfectly horizontal and not perfectly vertical. And the fun thing about diagonal lines is that they can go left to right, right to left. They can kind of go either direction, okay? So I could do something like this, do something like this, okay? And it's kind of fun because even though we're cutting out all these same lines, you can put them wherever you want and it's going to make it really unique. It's going to be all about what you're making. And if you have extra that hangs off the edge, don't worry about that yet. When we're all done, we can cut off leftovers, all right? Now, this is where we're gonna get a little tricky on you. We're gonna be doing a zigzag line and a wavy line because those are kind of fun lines too, but we don't usually cut those out. So this is really good practice for that, okay? So what you're gonna do, I want you to see this pretty well. So I'm grabbing this. When you're doing a zigzag or a wavy line, you go really big when you do it, because if you go too small, it gets really tricky to cut out. So Mrs. Fondre fit 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps back and forth in, okay? So this time, however, when I'm cutting on my line to cut this off, you'll notice one side is still flat, like that horizontal line, because my paper's flat. So here is the secret that you're gonna want for this, okay? Once I finish cutting this out, you actually are going to be able to draw another zigzag that goes parallel. That means that the lines could run forever in one direction and they'll never touch. So I'm gonna draw another zigzag pretty much exactly like this one next to it, but just make it stop before they would run into each other. So you can see I'm just kind of adding triangles here, up and down, up and down. And if they're not perfectly pointy, like you can see some of these are gonna look a little flat, that's okay. They still get that zigzag idea, all right? So from here, now I can cut out the rest of that zigzag, which I said looks a little bit like triangles, okay? That's gonna be kind of the same idea that we're gonna do with the wavy line as well. You'll draw one wavy line, and then you cut it out, and then you'll draw a wavy line next to it to cut that out. This takes a little bit more time because you gotta twist your paper all the time, okay? But it's really good practice for those fancy cuts, all right? This crazy lightning bolt looking thing. Maybe I don't want it to go diagonal here too, all right? And it's really, like I said, up to you where you wanna place these lines, okay? Like I said, the last one I wanna show you is wavy. I think I'm gonna do a short wavy line just because I haven't done a short one in a while. So I'm gonna start kind of where that point of my zigzag is. I'm gonna do a big wavy. Again, I want them to do bigger than smaller because they'll make your life a little easier. Because otherwise, if you have to cut out a mini one, it gets a little tricky. Okay, so got my wavy line cut out. And then I'm gonna draw my wavy line next to my wavy line. So it goes up and down and up, right next to the other one. It's okay if you have thinner or thicker ones and it's not perfectly the same thickness, that's fine. We're just practicing doing our curvy ones. And when I'm cutting curves, I usually move my paper a lot more so it doesn't look as choppy or geometric as my other one, all right? So then maybe we'll put that one right here, okay? So if you're feeling up for a challenge, my friends, if you're feeling up for a challenge, there's one more line you could add, and that is a swirl line. Okay, this one's a little tricky because there's going to be a lot of paper kind of moving all over the place. But what that would look like, okay, if I get my paper back here, I'm going to draw my spiral on my paper. Remember, it goes in and around, okay? And the bigger the better, makes it a little easier to cut it all out. I'm going to cut on that line. It's going to kind of look like a weird circle, oval, tear-shaped thing at first because you're not quite done with it. And it doesn't nicely just fall out of your paper like the other ones did, okay? As you can see, it wants to pop out, but we actually have to make it a little skinnier. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut off this extra bit so I have just my spiral here. And from the end of it, I'm going to cut another spiral, okay? So if it makes it easier, again, let's draw that in. I'm going to draw another spiral in here. Got a lot of lines going on here, okay? We're going to cut that one out too. You'll actually end up getting 2 spirals because you cut the mini spiral out of the big spiral. All right, so I'm getting to the end. And you see I'm really close here, so that's when you kind of snip it at the bottom where they connected right there. Okay, and now I've got 2 spirals then. This one's more of a curvy one, but that's okay. And you could put that one somewhere in your collage as well. All right, from here, since none of these pieces are glued on, you can figure out where you want them, okay? Remember, we want to keep one very horizontal, so it's going with your paper. And we want to keep one very vertical, so it's going on this edge of your paper. But all the other ones, you can kind of overlap and place where you want. This is where it's nice to have different color paper so they stand out a little bit more. And see what makes sense to you, okay? I'm not grading if you have them the same as mine. I'm grading that you did all these lines. We had kind of good time practice cutting all these out. All right. From here, you'd use your glue stick and glue all of these pieces on. When you're using glue stick, I think it's important to mention that you do still want to put a decent amount on. It's helpful if you have like one of these purple ones because you can see it really easily. But if you have a clear one or a different color one, just make sure it's really covered and press down when you're gluing it, okay? Sometimes people just put it on and they don't really do that extra push and then it falls off later. So it's really important to press everywhere and give it a little back rub when you're doing that, all right? If you have any questions, concerns, thoughts, comments, feel free to comment on this video in the Google Classroom or sending me an email. I'd be happy to clear some things up if you have questions. But if not, happy creating, and I'm looking forward to see what you come up with. Have a good day.